Hi guys, I'm back. It was nice to take a little break last week. If you did watch the last video I posted, thank you, I appreciate it. Although realistically, probably very few of you watched it. I think it's got like 32 sad views. But to be fair, who actually wants to watch someone go on holiday, a stranger go on holiday with their dad? If you did watch it, thank you. But realistically, we are all here for one thing, and for one thing only, and that is Section 2 of the GAMSAT. Today is kind of officially the first day that I'm doing this whole 3.5 months straight of GAMSAT content, and I'm excited to see where it goes. As promised, today I've got some juicy tips for you guys to take your essays to the next level. We mustn't forget that the GAMSAT is ultimately a psychometric test to test certain qualities about you, within you, that will make you a good doctor. I mean, we can assume that that's what the markers are looking for when they mark our essays. So, how can we play into that? How can we give the markers what they want? What do they want? Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Kate Robson, and I scored 80 in Section 2 of the GAMSAT in the 2021 March sitting, which put me in the top 0.7% overall for that sitting. Sorry, not overall, for that section, for that sitting. Since then, I've been making videos about how to also do that in the GAMSAT so that you guys can do that too. As part of this, and I am just going to do a little plug here, I'm making an online course. It's called Essays Made Easy, the essential guide to Section 2 to get you the GAMSAT mark you need for medicine. Our nice little long title there. But it's essentially going to cover everything that I've learned about Section 2 and that helped me get an 80, and that I'm going to employ in my next sitting to try and help me bump that mark up even more. It's kind of going to be the course that I wish that I had my first sitting, or that I wish existed for my preparation, because the resources online and out there at the moment are kind of just not there yet, and I want to contribute to the quality of the resources for Section 2 material so that we can together get better marks in Section 2. In the course, there's going to be detailed explanations about how I write my essays, how to write 80 plus scoring essays, the things that you need to avoid, the things that you need to do, the things that you need to look out for and include in your essays. And there's going to be exemplars and step-by-step instructions on how to actually write 80 scoring essays. There are going to be no gaps so that once you've completed the course, you will be GAMSAT ready and you'll know exactly what it means to write an 80 plus scoring essay, and you'll be able to do that for yourself for when you sit. I'm saying this all now, especially because there's only 16 days left of the pre-sale on the course, which gives you a 30% off discount to the whole entire course. Pre-sale is going to end on December the 25th. So if you would like to join and enroll in the course, the best time to do it is now because there's only 16 days left of pre-sale. So just giving you guys a heads up. Also, if you like free content, I do run an online newsletter, and I'll put that in the link in the video description so that you guys can join, where I also include a research recommendation for each week that I think would make for a good example in a Section 2 essay. If you are new here, please feel free to hit that like button and subscribe if you do enjoy this content, because I'll be posting GAMSAT videos every week, once or twice a week, depending on how much I can pump out. So if you're interested in that sort of stuff and if you do find this content helpful, please subscribe, leave a comment below and let me know. And yeah, glad to have you on board. In this video, we're going to be addressing the top 5 qualities that I think you should include in your GAMSAT Section 2 essays. The first thing, and arguably this could probably be the most important thing because it will carry through your whole essay. It will form everything from your analysis of the prompts right to your thesis and right down to the end of your conclusion. And in some ways also when you edit your essay as well. This quality that I think you need to bring out in GAMSAT essays is critical thinking skills. The definition of critical thinking skills is the ability to analyze in order to form a judgment. So it's basically evaluating evidence. That can be what someone has said, how things have happened, why certain things are happening, or how something is, or why people are saying it is a certain way, that sort of stuff, and being able to form your own opinion on it based on the facts that are available to you, or based on certain biases, manipulations, contexts, that sort of thing. The key critical thinking skills are analysis, interpretation, inference, explanation, self-regulation, open-mindedness, and problem solving. Now that's all well and good, but what does that actually mean? I think critical thinking is not taking something for face value, but evaluating it based on what you think, and learning to actually form an opinion based on using your own brain to make a decision based on something. It's following your intuition instead of being privy to other people's judgments or other people's decisions, or what other people have decided something is, why it is that way. And it's knowing that other people will hold their own beliefs and that they've formed their own opinions, but knowing that you need to be able to form your own in order to exist as an autonomous and self-thinking and independent individual. And like I said, this can start from the prompts. Simply, when you're reading through them, actually analyze them instead of just reading them and taking them for face value and being like, yep, I agree with Winston Churchill when he said this thing that may not even be credited to him properly if I actually did some research. Like, it's that sort of thing. It's like, do I believe him or her or them? Do I believe what they're saying? Do I actually agree with it? Why do I actually agree with it? If I disagree with it, why? What are the contexts in which that actually is true? What are the conditions in which that is not true? How can I think about that prompt in a way that maybe leads me to a more insightful judgment on it? Then you can also use these skills throughout your analysis, when you're forming your theses, when you're writing your sentences. If you can think critically about what you're actually writing, then it will probably lead to much more mature, developed responses that will get the marker actually realizing that, okay, you can think through things properly. You can make decisions. You can make judgments based on your own analysis of evidence. And why is this important for when we do want to become doctors? Why are GAMSAT markers judging us on this quality? Well, probably, I mean, I'm not a doctor yet, hopefully, so I don't know, but probably because when you're a doctor, you might have to make intense decisions, you might have to sort through evidence, you might have to make your own decision based on the facts that are given to you, and come to a decision that is well evaluated and isn't just what someone else thinks is right, but is what you think is right based on your analysis of it. Now, I think in both Task A and Task B essays, self-awareness is critical. It's critical so that you can become aware of your own biases, potential misconceptions, potential predispositions, things that you maybe were raised to believe that aren't necessarily true in every case, or things that you have picked up along the way that just based on your life experiences. Self-awareness is essentially the experience of one's own personality and individuality. It's become a bit of a buzzword, self-awareness, in the last few years in terms of psychology and maybe a part of woke culture as well. Woke culture I use in quotations, of course, but it certainly has some grounds to it. When we're self-aware, we are able to see those things within us that we might jump to, the assumptions that we might jump to initially without proper analysis of the evidence, without proper critical thinking. Self-awareness is key for us to be able to make better decisions, to not jump to conclusions so quickly, to question the things, question our intuition, and come to a stronger, more evaluated conclusion. Self-awareness, I think we can also see our own flaws, and in that way, we can see the flaws in our argument. And that is so important because when we can see the flaws in our argument, we can write that. And that's one of the key things to show in your essays, that you recognize that your argument, the argument that you're putting forward in this, or the opinion that you hold isn't necessarily always right because you are, just one person with your own biases and your own predispositions, and you're showing that maybe you're not always right. Maybe you're not right in every case, but at least you're aware of that. And that shows a certain maturity. and that's really important in GAMSAT essays. In terms of why self-awareness is probably important as doctors and why the GAMSAT markers are looking for it in our essays is probably because self-awareness is pretty important when you are a doctor. It's not making those quick decisions based on assumptions or biases that you hold, but being able to take a step back outside of yourself in some cases and actually look at the decisions that you are making and the choices that you're making. I feel like I'm talking a bit out of my ass for this because I'm not a doctor yet, but I can only make my own guesses, my own assumptions. This one is kind of confusing, but also really important, I think. It's essentially having an understanding of the world around you, the historical events of the past that influence the present, having cultural awareness, an awareness of other cultures, religions, people's backgrounds, people's experiences, how people choose to live their lives. Being aware of the things that are happening in society that influence your privilege or the way that you live your life, or your lack of privilege, the things that are in the news that basically change the world as we know it. And it's basically having an understanding of what things happen and why things happen the way that they do. As part of this, it's, I think, important that we show and that we learn about in order to show in GAMSAT essays the things, so the historical events that have happened in the past that influence our society and how it is in the present, like I said. Social events of our period of time, so what things are happening around the world, at what rate, where, how, why, what communities they affect, how they might affect your community, how things are changing and at what rate, once again, and how this kind of influences you and the people that are around you. In terms of cultural awareness, I think it's understanding how other cultures operate or work, the beliefs that they are predicated on, different religions and different rules that religions abide by, or traditions or cultural experiences, backgrounds, different ethnicities, different rituals from different countries around the world or backgrounds or whatever. Being able to write about those three things, so history, society, and culture, in your essays and showing that you have an understanding of them, just shows a great cultural and historical awareness, a social kind of socio-cultural awareness. I don't know what the best word is for it, but one that will probably sit quite well with the markers if you do it tastefully and you actually show them that you understand and you respect other cultures and that you have an appreciation for diversity and people's differences. Especially because if you want to be a doctor in Australia, I mean, Australia is becoming more and more multicultural, if that's the word that we want to use. So if you want to be a doctor in Australia, you best believe that you will be treating and serving someone from the community who is from another culture than you are and who has a different background or upbringing than you do. So GAMSAT markers are looking for these qualities because eventually, in our doctors, we want doctors that are going to be able to treat people well and respectfully, and a big component of that is having a solid understanding and respect for other people's cultures and being able to act with care and with respect when you do. Again, I can only assume. Hopefully one day I will be able to report back with some actual experience. That reminds me, I think an important part of this is to show that you might have a bit of experience with this. I think in task B particularly, there comes an opportunity to be able to show that you might have an experience with respecting and understanding and appreciating other people's cultures, whether that's from a memory that you want to write about, or whether that's from a way that you evaluate the impact that story has on other people or its relation to wider society. In terms of that task B structure that I use, work on showing your understanding of different cultures and respect for different cultures, or your experience with different cultures, your first-hand experience. If you're not from Australia, if you're an international student or you didn't grow up in Australia, then I encourage you to try and write about your own culture if you can, if you feel comfortable, because that can make for a great and unique task B essay instead of maybe another student who's writing about their background being raised in Australia. Although many of our backgrounds will be very, very different growing up in Australia, perhaps you want to bring in your own experience growing up in another country. Okay, so number 4 is empathy. And although this is coming at 4th place, well, in no apparent order, I think this is one of the most important qualities. If you've watched my videos before, you're probably aware that I preach displaying empathy in your GAMSAT essays, and many other GAMSAT Section 2 tutors are doing that as well. Because, I mean, if we think about it, empathy is one of the most important qualities that you're probably going to need to have as a doctor. As a doctor, no matter the job, no matter the role that you're situated in, you have to work with other people, and a big component of working with other people is being able to put yourself in their shoes, feel for them, and being able to consider and wonder what they want or how they feel or what their experience is like. In terms of our textbook Google definition of it, empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another, or to feel what another person is feeling by placing yourself within their frame of reference, and the capacity to place oneself in another person's position. The best way to use this in your essays is to talk about how you think maybe another person feels about a certain situation. For example, in your Task B essays, in your impact on others paragraph, when you're talking about how maybe a memory has impacted another person, always try to focus on really getting to the bottom of how that other person might have felt in that situation. Do your best to empathize with them and put yourself in their shoes so that you can display that quality to the GAMSAT marker. In all of my Task B essays, I try to include at least 1 or 2 sentences about really describing how I think someone else feels, whether it's my mum, whether it's my friend, whether it's my caretaker or someone who is in that anecdote. Really try and describe how they must have felt in that situation. Were they worried for you? Were they concerned for you? Why were they doing the thing that they did? Why were they involved in that situation? And how did that impact them? The final one is humour, and I leave the best to last because this one just makes such a difference in your GAMSAT essays. If you can tastefully, keyword tastefully and maturely, sprinkle and input a little bit of humour into your essays, it will go for miles. It will make the quality of your essays just so much better. Because think about putting yourself in the shoes of the marker or someone reading your essays. Maybe it's me reading your essays. If you can put a touch of humor into your essays, it will just lighten up the mood so much, and it will make the person that's reading your essay really want to be there and really have a good time and respond well to your essay. You want them to respond well and to feel positively about your essays because you want them to give you a good mark. Ultimately, you want to leave a good taste in their mouth. So use humor well, try and do it maturely, think about who is marking it. It's probably going to be a boomer, as they say, or maybe someone who's 40 or 50, could be 60. They could be younger than that, of course, but I'm assuming that they're probably an older person and that joke has to sit well with an older person. So don't use any inside jokes, don't use any like memes unless they're very well known, but try and use humor that's actually tasteful, understandable, that can be applied and understood in any context. The reason I think this one is so important to bring up in GAMSAT essays, they're probably looking for that quality in future doctors because humor is really important to make light of serious situations, and as a doctor, if you can tastefully make light of serious situations, which you will often come across, then it will probably make you a more likable doctor, a better doctor in that sense. Yeah, that's my guess. That's all I've got for you guys today. I really hope that helped. If there's anything I've missed, feel free to pop it down low, pop it below in the comments. And yeah, suggest any other things that you guys think are important in GAMSAT essays. Maybe you agree or disagree with some of the things I've said here. I'd be interested to know why. Pop them down in the comments and let me know if this was helpful to you guys. Other than that, sign up for the course if you haven't already. It's going to be so good. I can't wait. And yeah, use these qualities in your GAMSAT essays. See if you can tick them off one by one every time you write an essay. And I assure you, your essays will be better for it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you for the next video very soon.
So girls, move it around. If you see your main dog, get the brother a pound and just come on, just 3, stop.